Hey, mighty men of God, Joe Martin here with Real Men Connect, where we help good men become great men God's way by providing them with real answers to real problems in the real world. Guys, forgive the glare in the background. I just shot a video that maybe you haven't seen or you will see real soon. I was in the car, but I got a quick revelation while I was in the house, so I figured I'd shoot this in my living room. So we're not doing the Real Men Ride Along, but it's a quick lesson for you. And I want to address the question of how do you engage and connect with your children? How do you engage and connect with your children, particularly children who are older? We're not talking about the toddlers and the ones who are just learning how to walk, ones who haven't started school. I'm talking about typically late elementary, middle school, up to high school. As you know, that I'm an educational consultant, speaker, and author, and I work with educators all over the country, all over the world. And I'm often asked by parents and even teachers, Joe, how can I connect with my teenager, or how can I connect with my child? Because the older the child gets, typically they tend to draw away and they go around their friends, and they tend to want to talk to their friends. And so I share with them something that I started doing with my son years ago. My son is now getting ready to turn 20 years old. But I started doing this when he was in elementary school, and I now do it with my daughter who's in middle school. She's 13. Pray for me. Okay. But I do the same thing. And now I tweak it a little differently with my daughter, and you'll see why in just a second. But they're basically some questions that I ask them. I ask them 4 questions whenever I pick them up from school. Now, I'm going to talk to you what I tell them when I pick them up from school. I'll shoot another video on what I do when I'm taking them to school. But for now, it's when you pick them up. Typically, when you pick up your child from school and they get in the car or they come through the door, the first thing you ask them is, how was school today? And what is their response? Normally, typically, it was all right. It was okay. It was all right. You say, anything happened in school today? No. You want to talk about anything? No. And then they go to their room or they get into their cell phones or whatever it may be. So typically, there's no dialogue, there's no communication. So I know from working with kids pretty much my career that that's not the right way to engage a child. So I came up with 4 questions that I always ask my children. Now, typically, the drive when I pick my children up from school or take them to school, it takes roughly between 40 and 45 minutes. So it's pretty much a long commute. And we typically do not, typically we don't do it. I don't allow them to be on their cell phones. I don't allow us to turn on the radio and listen to music. So we always talk, going and coming back home. So when we're coming back home and my son or daughter gets in the car, the first question I ask them starts with the letter G. By the way, there's an acrostic for this. It's called GLAD, G-L-A-D, G-L-A-D. So you won't forget this after I share it with you. First, the G. I ask my son or my daughter when they get in the car, tell me, what was good about school today? What was good about school today? Now, you notice I didn't ask a closed-ended question. It was an open-ended question. What was good about school today? So if they say, well, nothing was good about school today. Well, tell me, what was bad about school today? See, the point is you ask an open-ended question and so get them to have to communicate with you. So they'll start telling you what was good about school today, and that's fantastic. Now, that's the G. Now, here's the L. The L is, what did you learn in school today? Tell me about something that you learned in school today. Now, why is this so important? Because a lot of times kids want to shut down. They want to get into their cell phones. But if you ask them a question, what did they learn today, and you hold them accountable to telling you something, that means when you drop them off to school, they know dad is going to ask that question. So they better learn something. Now, I laugh about that because the first time my son did that, he told me he didn't learn anything that day. So, of course, what did I do? I turned the car around. He said, Dad, where you going? I said, I'm taking you back to school. You were there for 7 hours. They didn't teach you anything. We're getting our money back. So my son told me, no, Dad, I learned something. I said, you better speak quick because we're almost there. And he told me exactly what they learned. And I got to tell you, that's probably one of the best questions you ask your kid because I learned a lot from my children. Even though I'm an educator, I've been out of school for a long time. And the stuff they tell me that they're learning, I'm thinking, wow, they are teaching them something at school. Anyway, so you got the G. Now you got the L, then you have the A. This is important. This is critically important, especially when you're dealing with teenagers. And the A is, what made you angry today at school? Or did anything make you angry at school today? Now, I like what made you angry at school today because then that gives them the option to say, well, Dad, nothing made me angry today. Well, that's fantastic. Then you can just go right past that question. But the reason why you're asking that question, what made you angry today? Because as you know, especially dealing with teenagers, that they tend to internalize a lot of struggles that they're having, a lot of things that are going on in their lives. So when I ask that question about anger, I want to know if there's something that's causing them hurt, causing them pain, and I want them to be able to talk about it and express it with me. Now, it's not for me to judge. Now, anything they're telling me when I'm asking these questions is not for me to be daddy by judging their answers. It's just to get them to communicate and start dialogue with me. So what made you angry? Because see, kids, if they don't express that anger to you, they're going to express it in other ways and typically could get them in trouble or even potentially harm other kids. Okay, so we got the G, we got the L, we got the A, and here's the last one, and the last one is D. And I told you I've tweaked this one. This is one I changed for my daughter, but for my son and my daughter, typically when I started out, I asked this question: tell me about a tough decision you had to make today. Tell me about a tough decision you had to make today, because you know as kids get older, they're going to be faced with the peer pressure, trying to get them to do things they don't want to do, try to compromise their integrity, the things that you poured in them, the world is trying to take it out of them. So I want to know, tell me about a tough decision you had to make today. Okay. Now, I tweaked that a little bit for my daughter because my daughter was struggling when in middle school about trying to answer, well, it was when she was in elementary school, was struggling answering that question. So I changed the D to this, and it might work, maybe it works better for daughters. I asked her, I said, tell me about any drama today that happened in school today. And boy, when I asked her that question, she couldn't stop talking because she would tell you everything that's going on in her life. And typically it gets around to those decisions. So there you have the G and what was good about school today. The L, what did you learn? A, what made you angry or hurt your feelings, caused you pain today at school? And D, tell me about a tough decision or any drama you had to deal with. Guys, I'm telling you, this will bless your relationships with your children. I got to tell you, they know these questions even before I ask them now, and they can't wait to talk to me when they get into the car. With no cell phone, no radio, no music, I'm not competing against anybody or anything for their attention. And you build a closer bond and relationship with your children by doing it. Guys, if this blessed you, please bless another father by sharing this with them, because a lot of fathers, we're a little bit inept at communicating. This is a way to help us ease that way into the conversation. As always, remember, we're males by birth, but we are men by choice. So choose to be the man that God called and created you to be, because a male is a terrible thing to waste. Talk to you soon. Be blessed. Stay strong. And always stay in God's grip.